An 11-year-old boy in Mississippi calls 911 trying to get help for his mother, but when police arrive, the officer shoots him. Darian Murray was shot in the chest, and now his family has just filed a $5 million federal lawsuit. The child suffered fractured ribs, also a lacerated liver, and he was put on a ventilator after his lung collapsed. His family is now demanding that the officer also be charged, and they want him and the police chief fired. CNN's Nick Valencia just spoke with the Darian. Nick, how's he doing?
Well, he's still in some pain, Brianna, and he's having some noticeable trouble breathing. But what he seems to be most bummed about is not being able to play with his friends. He can't go outside swimming. It's the summertime coming up here. He can't go outside running because he's still recovering from the hole in his chest after he was shot by a police officer a little over a week ago. Darian is remarkably in good spirits for what he went through, but he does tell me when he's alone in his room at night, the weight of what he went through does hit him.
Sometimes I can see myself laying inside the coffin. Them are my thoughts at night, my only ones. And sometimes I think people are watching me. But my main thought is me dead.
He said he was so convinced that he was going to die that day that he started to tell his mother his last words, telling her to say sorry to the family members who he acted up in front of, telling him to say sorry to the teacher that he was bad towards. The mother said that she is so overfilled with joy that she really doesn't have enough time to be angry, even towards the police officer, Sergeant Greg Capers with the Indianola Police Department. She doesn't even have to be time to be angry at him, she says. She does, though, want him fired and never to work as a police officer in this country again. We're standing in front of their attorney's office because just in a few minutes, they're going to announce a federal lawsuit that they've filed seeking $5 million in damages from the city as well as the local police department. This is still under investigation. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is handling this. They have body camera that they have not yet released of this incident. Meanwhile, Brianna, very quickly, we have reached out to Sergeant Greg Capers repeatedly, but he has not gotten back to us. Brianna?
Yeah, maybe that body camera will reveal how this could happen. I think that is what is on everyone's mind as we see this traumatized little boy. Nick, thank you for bringing that to us. Jim?
All right, let's discuss more what happens next in this case. The Murray's family attorney, Carlos Moore, joining us now. And Carlos, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first, when I hear that little boy, 11 years old, struggling a little bit as he continues to recover, just feel so much for him. You could see how much he's been through here. Can you tell us how he's doing?
Yeah, he has been through more than any 11-year-old boy should ever go through, especially during the summertime when he should be vacationing from a hard years of work at school. But he is struggling. He is trying to stay in good spirits. He's trying to comfort his mother because she feels that it's her fault. But he's a remarkable young man, still has some pain in his side, still struggles to breathe, but he's blessed to be alive, and he gives all praise to God.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. He's lucky to be alive. All right, when we look at your lawsuit here, I believe asking for $5 million, you say that the officer involved here, Greg Capers, quote, failed to assess the situation before displaying and or to start discharging his firearm. What are the circumstances of the shooting as you know them?
What I do know is that on May the 20th, after 4 a.m., the police was called to the scene by my client, Darian Murray, at the request of his mother. Her ex-boyfriend had come to the home around 4 a.m. She let him in, and he became irate. She became afraid, and she snuck to her son's room, threw him the phone, and asked him to call her mother and the police. He called both his grandmother and the police. The police arrived. His grandmother arrived. The police tried to kick in the door. Nicola Murray opened up the door. Greg Capers had his gun drawn in her face at that point. He asked her to step outside. She stepped outside, and then he yelled in the house, anyone in the house come out with your hands up. And that's when Darian came out with his hands up, and immediately he was shot as soon as he got into the living room.
Goodness, how tall is he?
Darian appears to be about 4 feet 10 inches tall.
So he's small. I mean, difficult to have mistaken him for an adult. Now, the Indianola police chief, how do they explain the circumstances here? Do they have a defense yet? I mean, we should note that Officer Capers, he was named Policeman of the Year just in 2021. How do they explain the circumstances here and the justification for this?
The city of Indianola has not even attempted to explain the situation. I don't think there's any earthly justifiable reason that you would shoot an unarmed 11-year-old. No veteran cop should have been afraid. Even a rookie would not make that mistake. There was a rookie officer with the sergeant that night. She didn't make that mistake, but the veteran officer shot this boy point blank range, center mass in his chest, could have killed him graveyard dead. He came within an inch of losing his life. And that's why we have filed that $5 million lawsuit.
Your lawsuit alleges negligence here. Are you alleging the possibility of criminal behavior here by the officer as well?
We do believe it is criminal. According to the statute, any reckless behavior where someone is shot, that can be charged as aggravated assault. This man was shot by a cop needlessly. And so that's aggravated assault. And we're hoping that the Attorney General will pursue the correct criminal charges. The family has hired me to pursue justice in the civil arena, but true and complete justice would be an immediate arrest for aggravated assault, an immediate termination of both Greg Capers and the chief of police. That's what this family is demanding, and we will not take anything less.